Hello, and welcome to another episode of In My Experience with yours truly, Christine DeGinto. This podcast is a space where I speak from lived experience. The moments that shaped me, challenged me, and changed the way that I understand myself in the world. The awakenings, the breakdowns, the moments that cracked me open, asked me to stay present, be embodied, and be honest with myself. I share my stories not to persuade or define truth for anyone else, but to offer perspective, to explore the gray areas we don't often have language for, to slow things down and listen more closely to what's happening beneath the surface. You'll hear solo episodes where I reflect on my own initiations, spiritual gifts, and the systems that tried to define me, and conversations with guests who have walked strange, beautiful, and sometimes painful paths of their own and come back with wisdom to share with us. I invite you to take what resonates, leave the rest, and trust your own experience as valid. Thank you for being here. This is In My Experience. Welcome back to In My Experience. If you're new here, welcome. I'm Christine DeGinto. I'm glad you're here with us. Either way. So, the move continues. We are officially at a campground. I'm in the fifth wheel and moving things in. There's a lot of bins of stuff everywhere, but slowly I'm opening them and putting things away in cabinets and drawers. So it is happening. Um, what else is new? Oh, so many things. This week, I'm going to send in the tuition payment to register for a natural building workshop that's happening in Tennessee. And I already have places to stay lined up because of our previous travels. We're just going to go backwards from whence we came. We'll start out in Natural Bridge, Virginia, and from PA to Virginia, and then from Virginia to Tennessee at a campground down there in Moshim, Tennessee, and I believe the workshop is about half an hour away in Parrotsville. So we'll see how that goes. That'll be 4 days. And I do plan on having my daughter with me. Um, I'm gonna just, I'm gonna talk about this. Usually I like to hold on to things until they're a little bit more concrete, but I am so excited to share this that I'm gonna just say it. I feel very, very excited. I've been following a group of monks who are building an eco village in Tennessee. They were originally in Georgia and then they were looking for property that would suit their needs and they found it in Tennessee. So they purchased that, they moved there, and they have been online talking about their intentions of building this eco village, a Vedic eco village. And I just love all of it. I love all of it. So, after quite a long period of following them online and making comments and receiving emails from them, signing up for all the things to be informed about it, um, I received a text message from Ali, the monk, and he said that he would like to talk about an opportunity to come for 2 weeks and volunteer, which would be amazing because it's about 3 days after my workshop ends and I'll still be in Tennessee. I could just stay an extra 2 weeks and head over to wherever they are and do some work, get introduced, and spend some time learning and doing, which is what I love. So I'm really looking forward to that as well. And I hope everything works out well. I'm currently breaking patterns. Like I said, I typically hold on to things until I know it's a sure thing before I share my excitement. But some of the work that I have been doing, reprogramming my mind and the way that I think and talk to myself, it really is like a trauma program. Because typically I feel like if I share too soon, especially like relationships, if I talk to like a friend or like anyone about, oh, I'm seeing this person, or, "Oh, I've been, talking to this person." I share too soon, and then it's like it shifts. And my mind tells me like, "Yeah, you bitch. Why would you ever think you could share about something that would get excited like you're excited about, that you care about? Because you know that other people get all up in that energy and then the timelines change and things change. Like, don't share anything. Don't brag about anything. Don't be excited. Don't share your excitement because it'll get fucked up." Well, that way of thinking is fucked up. So I'm gonna, like I said, I'd already shared it. It's already done, and I'm looking forward to it. I believe everything only good will come from it. So there's that. And yeah, there were a few nights that I woke up in the past couple of weeks and I wondered, what the fuck did I just do? Am I making the right choice? Where am I going with this? Am I going to be able to do it? Well, the answer is always, "It's fine. Don't worry about it. You already know." And yes, of course you can. So I get to that eventually, but those questions do come in and they do cause quite a bit of shock through my system. It's just, it's understandable. There's huge changes going on in my life, transitioning from living in a townhouse to living in a fifth wheel, traveling, driving, learning how to back up. I still don't have all the things that I need, like a camera. Cameras are helpful, backup cameras. And I think also it would be great to get a camera in the bed of my truck so that I can line up the ball hitch of the fifth wheel because I can only do it when my daughter's with me. Well, I mean, I can do it. It just, I have to get out a million times and look. But when my daughter is there with me and she's able to help me, she sticks her head out the back window and she tells me, a little bit this way, a little bit that way. And okay, keep going. Okay, stop. And she's really good at lining me up. So we have a pretty high success rate. Um, and I thank her for that. Man, sometimes I do wish though. I've been thinking about this too lately. I have never appreciated men more in my life as I have lately because I think about, all of the things that happen, especially traveling with large trailers and driving trucks and all this stuff. It's usually men. So I see some women out here too. That's great. Um but we sort of just treat it like I started following some people previous to me making these purchases and this life change and I just to get an idea of like what the life would be like and families who full time live in an RV and homeschool and things of the like. I just wanted to get some ideas and understanding of the life and what it entails. So, unfortunately, some of the ones that I've followed, they really played up and I don't appreciate it because I'm a quite a masculine woman, I guess, but the women who were primarily managing the accounts and they're talking about what they do, like, they sort of, like, downplay what their husband does and how much it takes to get everything connected and hitched up and, everything all ready to go on the road, and, one time there was a she posted and it was she had to disconnect the truck and take the kids somewhere and then come back and connect it again, and then she was taking a nap, and they call themselves passenger princesses. Like, this is, like, a term that people use, like, couples on the road that live this way, the women, like, they're passenger princess, and they don't do anything with the truck, they don't do anything, like, to connect things or disconnect things, and they just don't know, and I think it's not fair. Not fair. Just as much as I feel like when I'm cooking in the kitchen, I wish I had a hand. I'm sure, they wish they had a hand. So, I just appreciate men. That's all I have to say for that right now, and, I wanna get into this conversation that I had months ago. I'm trying to remember exactly, let me see, March 24th. But the perfect timing is now to share this conversation with Randy Peterson of 4 Ethers VM. I'm really excited to share this conversation with you. So I'll just go ahead with our regularly scheduled intro. I just wanted to give you a quick update about my life in the past week or so. I also apologize for not getting an episode out last week. Like I said, this move is really kicking my ass. So I'm trying my best, which is great. And I will leave you right here. Today, I'm joined by Randy Peterson of Four Ethers VM for a conversation that moves through sound, sacred geometry, vibrational medicine, the nervous system, subtle energy bodies, EMFs, and the deeper intelligence woven through nature. Randy works with Cymatherapy, using sound codes and the Acoustic Meridian Intelligence device to support the body through frequency and the meridian system. When I first heard Randy speak about his work, it immediately made sense to me on an intuitive level. Later, I had a remote session with him myself, and I could actually feel the subtle humming relaxation. I could see shapes and colors in my mind's eye and the shifts that were happening about every minute or so through my body while I was in Philadelphia and he was in Utah. He does this remotely. In this episode, Randy explains how vibrations form geometric patterns, how healthy cells and tissues have resonant frequencies, and how the body can interact with sound in ways that go far beyond simply listening through our ears. We also talk about stress, trauma, fascia, water, EMFs, consciousness, ancient healing systems, and why so many of us are beginning to remember that physical reality is not the whole story. Toward the end, Randy shares the path that brought him from civil engineering into sacred geometry and vibrational medicine, along with his vision for heart-centered communities, natural building, and designing spaces that reconnect us with the land, our bodies, and source. This is one of those conversations where the threads keep weaving themselves together through science, spirit, nature, architecture, frequency, and the quiet knowing that everything is connected. I really enjoyed this conversation with him, and I hope you do as well. If you know of anyone who would enjoy this, please share it with them and feel free to rate as well. I would love to hear from you. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to send me a message directly through Instagram. I'm at Hyacinth Healing. Come check me out. Thank you so much for joining me. Today we have a conversation with Randy Peterson, a Cymatherapist. And Randy, for those who don't know what that is, I'll let you start out by just describing what you do and how it works.
Totally. First of all, thank you for having me on, Christine. I really appreciate it. And I loved hearing you on Amy's podcast as well. I understand that's how you found me. Yeah,
Yes,
Amy Belair, shout out if you're listening. You're awesome.
yes, she's the
Anyway,
best.
yeah, Cymatherapy is predicated on the fact that vibrations form what we perceive as geometric shapes and patterns. So, like when you talk about sacred geometry, what you're discussing and what it's describing are the archetypal patterns that
Hmm.
form the backdrop of, again, what we perceive as physical reality.
Hmm.
And they express themselves through, everything from like the divine center of creation out to the angelic sphere. Um, and that's all shaped through the etheric field, or what Rupert Sheldrake describes as the morphogenetic field of resonance. So I'm sure many of your listeners are familiar with cymatics, or the way that when you sprinkle powder or liquid on a
Hmm.
plate and then vibrate it, and at
Hmm.
certain frequencies, it'll all of a sudden form into different geometric forms and patterns.
Yes.
So the British osteopath, Dr. Peter Guy Manners, who post World War II with a team of medical researchers and doctors, uh, actually around the same time that Hans Jenny, who coined the term cymatics, was doing his research and publishing his findings, they named cymatherapy at the time cymatic therapy in honor of what Hans Yini was doing. And so Dr. Manners had a theory that um, knowing that sound or that matter responds to sound, what would happen if they recorded the sounds that cells make in a healthy state and then played them back to the body?
Mhm.
So he and his team of researchers spent 20 years detecting, literally using very sensitive instrumentation to detect the sounds that cells made,
Mm.
different tissues and organs, and so on, the sounds that they made in healthy states. So every molecule has what's called a prime resonant frequency. In other words, a vibration or a frequency where it most readily absorbs vibrations.
Mhm.
So it's based off of that concept. So when they were doing this research, they tried just playing one tone back to the body, and it was not just like through headphones or through a speaker. They were actually applying the tones transdermally or directly in contact with the skin. So
Okay.
literally vibrating the tissue in the body.
Mhm.
And with one tone, nothing was happening. Two, nothing was happening. Three and four, nothing was happening. They were about ready to give up. And then they combined five harmonics together and started seeing some miraculous results. And then for over 40 years, Dr. Manners continued to see patients in his clinic in Breverton, UK. And around 2000, Mandara Cromwell, who is the inventor of the device that I use in my practice, the what is now the AMI 850, went over there through very serendipitous um, circumstances, as you might imagine with these types of things. Started studying with him, and eventually, a few years later, he passed on his life's work to her and said, "I know, I'm giving this work to you because I know that you won't change it." So she brought that information and one of his rudimentary devices back to the United States, upgraded the components, and at that time it was called the AMI 1000. And you had to be it took a lot of research to operate the device to know which sound codes to use in succession and like where to place them on the body and so on.
Mm. Mhm.
And they still had a lot of success with it, but it was a lot more challenging for use to use. And you had to again like have the training to know how to use it properly. Well,
Mhm.
eventually the components for that device became obsolete, and she was kind of between a rock and a hard place, not knowing what to do next. And then she had a vision of the body's meridian pathways. Um, like when you get acupuncture,
Mhm.
that's what they're
Traditional
accessing.
Chinese medicine.
Exactly,
Yeah.
precisely.
Mhm.
And so the AMI, which stands for Acoustic Meridian Intelligence,
Okay.
plays these audible sound codes or commutations or sets of five frequencies that Dr. Manners and his team developed, play them back to the body, and it's got a plexiglass plate and an electrical transducer that transmits the sounds. And then they travel through two water-based gel pads that you put your feet on, and
Mm.
then the sound codes travel through your meridian pathways.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense that the water is involved to help.
Yeah,
Yeah, that makes
'cause
so much sense. I can
water is
see
such a
that.
good conductor of
Yeah,
energy.
energy,
And so,
absolutely.
yeah, so we can access the entire meridian system, which are the energy highways in the body, through the acupressure points in the feet.
Hmm.
And the body absorbs whatever frequencies it needs and whatever ones it doesn't. That's where the intelligence component of it comes in. They just pass through harmlessly. The body absorbs
Wow.
what it needs and whatever it doesn't just pass through.
That makes so much sense because I've been in my journey, my health journey, recognizing the importance of traditional Chinese medicine for a time years ago. For several years, I got acupuncture. I've had Reiki. It's very important to pay attention to that, and I believe that ancient ancient civilizations having the knowledge, wisdom, and experience that they do. I mean, I think they're on to something. So it never stopped working. It just was changed because I guess we thought we knew better. We wanted to be God and have all the medications and cures and reasons, whatever.
Yeah.
But I have personally experienced Randy's work. When I heard him on Amy Blair's podcast about 2 years ago, he shared a link and to express. I think were you just starting around that time?
That was when I was really just like, kicking into overdrive as far as like
Hmm.
being heard and being seen, which was quite a challenge at the time. It gets easier every time I go on a podcast or
Good.
talk
I'm
about this work with people because I'm so passionate about it, and hopefully that bleeds through in my words.
Yes, absolutely. And thank you for continuing to try, even if it was, a little bit difficult, because this information, I feel like for whatever reason, when you know, and then you can see and understand how it all works, and it makes total sense, and you get it, you can feel it. For example, like I was saying, I experienced a session of his, I could feel it. Where are you located?
Right now, Salt Lake City, Utah,
Okay.
which,
And I feel like that's where you were then, maybe, or
yeah, I've been here about 2.5 years.
okay. So I was in Philadelphia at the
Okay,
time.
cool.
And what Randy did was I sent him a picture, and he printed out the picture and then describe a little bit more. You had like a pyramid. What was that made of? The
Oh yeah, I use a copper coil on top of
okay.
it to further entrain the energy. There's also, this kind of goes into more esoteric waters about how remote healing works. I
Mm-hmm.
found out about this device from another training I took called biogeometry.
Mm-hmm.
Some of your listeners might be familiar with that, but biogeometry is, as the name implies, the study of nature's design language or the shapes of life. Bio, life, geometry, study of shapes.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all based off of the spectrum of life force energy, which we talked about briefly, but basically everything emanates from the divine center of creation and then goes outwards. And then these energies propagate around a circle perfectly. And the
Mm-hmm.
researchers who discovered them in modern times, again, like around the 1930s, were a group of French researchers. And what biogeometry does is allow you to directly test, analyze, and apply not only the spectrum of energy on the periphery, but more importantly, the centering vibration, which is found in sacred power spots. It's found in each of our chakras. It's found literally at the center of every geometric shape.
Mm-hmm.
So that system typically relies on shapes and angles and colors and sounds, but it's all has to do with resonance and harmonics. And so through that, there's a part of, say, biogeometry is actually built on something called vibrational radiesthesia, which translates in Latin to the detection of subtle energies. So your photograph has your vibrational signature embedded in it. So um, it kind of acts as a mediary between your body, not just your physical body, but all five of our bodies, our energetic body, our mental and emotional bodies, and our spiritual bodies.
Mm-hmm.
So through quantum entanglement, and because your photograph has the same vibrational qualities on the spectrum of life force energy as your, you know, we'll just say physical body for the sake of discussion.
Yes.
When I apply the sound codes, like when I run a session with your photograph on there, you feel that in real time. I work with
Mm-hmm.
clients in Australia and all over the world.
Yes, absolutely. And I can personally attest to it. It was such a beautiful, relaxing, calming. And I'm not even sure if we discussed anything along the lines of like what frequency I may need or anything that I had going on in particular. It was just sort of like I mean, I think you adjusted it sometimes. I think that you may have changed it along the way because I felt, now this was a long time ago, but I do remember it because I was at a friend's house and I was in Philadelphia, like the actual city of Philadelphia. And I remember we had this scheduled and I was like, I'm definitely doing this. I'm definitely doing this. And I got I got all ready and I was sitting by myself and it was just sort of like an awareness of myself in the space. Also, when I had my eyes closed, I was able to see patterns and shapes and colors and it was like a subtle it was like my whole body was vibrating subtly. It was like humming. Um, it felt really nice. Yeah. So and what you said about that quantum entanglement and having the same energy patterns and that kind of goes into the next question that I had for you, which is how do you see Cymatherapy, interacting with the nervous system, trauma, and stored emotional energy in the body?
That's a great question. First, I kind of want to touch on a little bit what you discussed prior about like how you kind of like felt it change.
Hmm.
So each of the programs, it's got 20 different channels, and each one of them is 30 minutes in length. And
Okay.
about every minute on the minute, the commutation will change. And so
Hmm.
um, many people, like you said, will feel that change in real time. Like one
Hmm.
minute you'll be feeling like pressure being relieved in your forehead. Next, like your shoulders will feel like warm and tingly and just like a
Yeah.
nice sensation. And then, like you said, sometimes it's just a full body like relaxation. When I
Yeah.
let people try 10 minutes, which is what you did, I always do the stress channel because we all have some varying degree of stress in our lives, whether it's through mental, emotional, family stuff, work stuff,
Yeah.
but just like the environment that we live in, the electromagnetic fields that we're exposed to constantly create a stressful response in our body. So we all have
Absolutely.
stress. Our immune systems get dampened by that because we're in our parasympathetic, or excuse me, our sympathetic nervous system is activated and we're in a fight or flight response.
Hmm.
Cortisol levels are elevated, inflammation runs rampant. Um,
And that's not even the intentional like mind control frequencies that, conspiracy level, which aren't a conspiracy in my opinion.
yeah.
But yeah, this is just everyday stresses, but then there's also higher levels of that are intentional. So do you find that that is a good way to combat that, is to regularly be in that frequency and tune yourself to be in a harmonious state? How do you find, well, this is, let me ask you this question, then we'll get back to my other question. But how do you find people fare being in such a dissonant frequency from, and I mean that in the sense that the environment that they're in is not in harmony, but then because of the therapy, now their cells are in harmony. What have you seen, anybody talking about like what they can do or what they have done to try to bridge the gap between the two?
Um, what I find and what I found for myself with like when I started working with biogeometry and eventually the AMI is that most of us have no idea that we're in such an energetically chaotic environment. I mean,
Uh-huh.
obviously, if you watch the news, you can be consumed by it. But just like the cell phone towers that we're surrounded by, we're carrying a cell phone in our pocket, which is no bueno.
Hmm.
And but then when you apply the corrections through biogeometry or like where the pendant that they make, all of you just feel this like instantaneous sense of like sigh of relief. Like,
Yep.
oh my
That's
goodness, like
definitely
I
how I
didn't
felt.
know. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. And it's interesting too, because I'm quite sensitive, and at times I've been able to, and anyone can do this, even if they're not sensitive, but I've been able to hear electricity like in my house. I can
Yeah.
hear that high pitch, and I'm like, what the? And I turn everything off, be quiet. You know what I mean? It's like I've had moments like that where it's like you said, we have no idea how overstimulated we are actually until we get into that moment of silence. And then it's like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize. And it's just, I think, a good opportunity to bridge the gap. Like we were saying, I think there are many different devices to help cancel out frequency. There's even clothing you can wear, right? The EMF blocking clothing, and like there's different brands. I don't really care to say, but like maybe Aries is like the, and it all has to do with geometry as well, the
Right.
shape affecting the frequency. So it's fascinating to me. So again, how have you seen with clients that you've worked with, if you don't mind sharing, obviously not like their information, but just sort of like their stories of how it has affected their nervous system, working with trauma and stored emotional energy in their body.
Yeah. So I got this one client whose social security number is no, just kidding.
I'm just kidding. Yeah.
Yeah, but it ties right into kind of what you were saying about like the nervous system and stuck emotions because we are
Yeah.
electromagnetic beings. And it is very curious that the 5G wavelengths match perfectly with like our tiniest nerve endings. So basically, our
Mhm.
nerves are antennas for this 5G energy, which I don't know how deep down the rabbit hole you want to go, but
As
I
far as you want. Yep.
I'm like right next to the rabbit digging. That's where I'm at. Um, but yeah, universally speaking, like with the stress channel, people report improved sleep, better relationships with um, everybody in their life, coworkers, spouses, children.
Mhm.
Just you have more patience. They're not, again, like we have elevated cortisol levels. It's really easy to snap and say things that we don't mean, and you know,
Absolutely.
um,
Absolutely.
yeah. And then like with stuck emotions, so our meridian pathways translate directly to the fascia along those meridian lines, and those muscles are like piezoelectric crystals. So like when you squeeze them, like when you're moving or exercising, which is why it's so
Mm-hmm.
important, they release free electrons, which travel through those meridian pathways and energize the associated organs.
Wow.
And
I saw a post yesterday talking about fascia. I find fascia fascinating because I have some pain in my body. I do believe it's connected with emotions and energy.
yeah,
I'll have to do a session with you. But
yeah,
but that's just, by the way. But the post said we're 70% water, but if you cut into us, you don't get water out. It's in your fascia. And I find it so fascinating. I'm really focused on the quality of water as well that I drink. Like I it's public water, but I have a filter on my refrigerator and I filter it there. And then I also put it into a Santa Via filter and then I put it into a swirl thing. And then I add minerals to it and electrolytes, like trace minerals. And I remember my daughter was sick. Maybe this was like last year. She had a little bit of some kind of virus, threw up. I took her to the doctor, even though it was a virus, and there's nothing you can do. I don't know why. Anyway, just because I wanted to make sure she was like, okay,
sure.
I don't like the doctor anymore. So what I'm trying to say is, I was like, I've been giving her electrolytes and stuff. She's like, oh, you don't really need electrolytes. And I was just like,
What?
I'm gonna especially because the way that I see things, it's all energy.
Yeah,
Everything is made of energy. Every bit of matter is energy. Like you were saying, it's all geometry. And it's like, oh, you don't need electrolytes. And I'm like, we're electric beings and it's through the wall. Like, what? Yes, we
like
do.
we kind of do actually.
Why would you say that? Like, I just don't know why she would say that.
Oh Lord.
Maybe she meant it like you don't need more than, you know,
Then what you get
normal.
from our depleted soil?
Yeah, well,
Our,
like I think she was saying like you really only need it if you're like sweating a whole lot and like like really exerting yourself. And I'm like, no, I think that that's just like I think if that's what you need when you're really exerting yourself, imagine how good you would feel if you had it all the time.
yeah, totally. And it goes
I'm
back
just,
to what we were saying that like most people are so below baseline
hmm
that they don't understand what it feels like to truly feel good.
yeah, yes,
And it's
yes,
like when people are like on a healthy eating journey for their first time, like they're like, I don't feel anything. But then they eat healthy for a while and then they have like junk food again and then they feel how bad the junk food makes them feel.
yes,
Same thing.
yes, absolutely. It's definitely, and it takes time to like get the to detox too, to
Right,
be able
right.
to really feel the effects. And like you said, it's almost like you have to have darkness to be able to see the light. It's like that. It's like
Exactly.
you wouldn't really know how good you have it until you don't, um, through injury or illness, and that happens sometimes. But uh, I guess something else I was wondering is how have you ever seen or experienced anything related strictly to consciousness having sessions, not just your physical body, uh, but your consciousness. I know you were describing the five levels of your body, and I
Yeah,
get it,
yeah.
but it's just a question that I had from before. I feel like you kind of already answered it.
Totally. No, I'm glad you asked that because I was just wanting to expand on that point.
Yeah.
So, Cymatherapy and the AMI and are very informed by Ayurvedic medicine and Chinese medicine because
Hmm.
Dr. Mandara Cromwell, she's a doctor in both of those disciplines. And so she understands, and actually, Dr. Peter Guy Manders understood that we have these subtle energy bodies as well. And so the frequencies that are embedded in it aren't just like a cell in its physical healthy state. There's also frequencies that address those subtle energy bodies as well. And it's super exciting. I love when people sign up for a full 6 week protocol because, I mean, I'm working with a patient right now. Like I still call him a client because I'm not a trained medical professional. Um, he came to me for vascular malformations in his leg, which are basically like really gnarly varicose veins
Mm,
that never dissolved and extremely painful and limiting his mobility. He has
mm,
a lot of old injuries in his shoulder and his ankle and his knee from a car accident and football in high school and things like that. You
hmm.
know, he's a country boy at heart, but he was open to this, which is amazing.
Yeah, I'm so
And
glad to hear that.
yeah,
That's
right.
awesome.
So he's talking to me and he's like, I'm starting to see it. Like when I close my eyes, like I can see the patterns. And he's like, just unprovoked. He's like, he's like, I quit drinking and I don't like going to bars anymore because I don't like the vibe in the bars.
Oh my gosh, that's
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah, that makes total sense to me too, seeing it very clearly that once you recalibrate your frequency, like we were saying earlier too, it's like you can't have that dissonance
Yeah.
because it's so cleared. Yeah.
Well, and not only that, because and like when you're retraining and recalibrating your body and your subtle energy bodies, you create a like a vibration that's typically the anti-attachments that drive us to drinking and things like that. You know,
Hmm.
those hitchhikers that are
Hmm.
basically like taking you for a joyride.
Yep.
They can't resonate with you at that level, and so all of a sudden you're like, your higher self is more accessible and you're more inclined to make decisions like treating your body as a temple. And like one other thing, like on a spiritual level, like you're saying, he's like started looking at church. He's like, this is like getting me closer to God. He's like, I just came to you for pain.
That's amazing. That's
Yeah.
thank you for sharing that. That's so beautiful. And it makes it makes sense to me. I keep saying that it makes sense, but that's because I really the way that I see it from the time that I heard you on Amy's podcast, and then especially when I worked with you for that practice session. It wasn't a
Hmm.
practice session for me; it was practice.
Right.
It it's just so amazing. I feel like from there. I think it was after we met, but it wasn't because we met. But I'm also very interested in sound healing. This is different than sound healing per se, but it works the not same way, similarly. How would you
Yeah, I would
describe
say
that it's
similarly,
different?
there's definitely
Yeah,
a distinction, and that's one of the big challenges is
yeah,
communicating that distinction to people. Like I love sound bowls. I love
yeah,
when someone is like a skilled practitioner and I can just lay
mhm,
down and relax.
yeah.
But this is just I always tell people
It's
to
more
picture it. Yeah,
focused.
picture like almost like like the tuning forks that have the like the rubber.
I have them.
Yeah,
Yep.
there you
I,
go.
mm-hmm,
And like you put them on your body and you feel
yep.
that. But
Yes.
it's like that, but you're like striking five of those at the same time and applying them simultaneously. And every
Yeah.
minute you're applying a new set, and each one of those sets is directly calibrated to like, the organs in your body on every plane of nature.
Yeah,
So
that's
it's much
can't
more
get
in
better than
depth.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's a wonderful way to describe it. Yes, because yeah, it is not the same thing as sound healing, though similar benefits long term, I guess, through
Yeah, totally.
relaxation,
For
but
sure.
not really at all. I don't. I'm all over the place
Yeah,
today. I
I think it's a much more comprehensive approach,
Yeah.
but I think that's where the main distinction lies. But having said that, they both are, at that level of objective vibrational qualities that I keep discussing because it's like the basis of what I do.
Hmm.
There's still, no matter how no matter how you're applying that vibrational quality, it's still the quality. So by virtue of the fact that we've taken all these sensory inputs through our sense organs and it's all processed through our nervous system, all of a sudden you can stack them, and you've got a color that resonates with the sound, that resonates with an angle, that resonates with a quality of number. So going
Mhm.
back to that coil that I used, that I put over the photographs, there are seven spirals, and the number seven creates a very powerful spiritual carrier wave, one of the vibrational qualities of this scale, called negative green, which is called negative green because it's opposite of green on the polarity. So green is at the top of the circle if you picture it, then you've got the visible spectrum, and then you've got black and white, which obviously manifests as physical colors, but it's more so related to the dualistic nature and polarity of our physical reality. And then,
Mhm.
like I said, that 12th band is negative green, and it creates a spiritual carrier wave that can penetrate thicknesses of lead that X-rays cannot.
That what you just said blew my mind. Wait, I'm gonna need to like oh my goodness. That is so incredible. That's gonna need to sit in there for a minute.
Yeah, and I'll blow your mind again. That same vibrational quality is like the Kundalini energy that rises up
Okay.
the spine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Now, with this spectrum I'm describing, just like an electromagnetic, um, like the electromagnetic field, the electricity, the current is traveling in a straight line, and then parallel to that, there's a magnetic field that forms. So you've got a
Hmm.
vertical and horizontal component, and there's also vertical and horizontal components of this vibrational spectrum. So the horizontal components tend to benefit biological life, and the vertical components tend to be detrimental. So vertical negative green is the vibrational quality associated with the death process on the physical plane. It's tasked with breaking down physical matter back into non-physical spirit, essentially. And that is the vibrational quality that we find in EMFs, Wi-Fi radiation, microwave radiation, and it's just gotten so out of balance in our world because of the influx of the technological age. But it also is the vibrational quality that you find in cancer, different heavy metals, even detrimental thoughts and emotions.
Hmm.
Yeah. So
Hmm.
it's so powerful when you work at that level. And like you said about the ancients having figured that out, all of their healing was based upon that etheric life force level above the physical plane. To them,
Hmm.
the physical reality was the illusion, the Maya. And the only thing that was true and real is the spiritual world.
Yeah.
And they also had a much better perception of it because their etheric bodies were more extended. And so they were effortlessly clairvoyant. And then
Hmm.
through our evolution, our etheric body started to retract, and that's when we developed mastery over our thinking. You could argue that some people still haven't done that.
Hmm.
Um, but like our thinking processes, our cognitive abilities, and like our physical bodies and our sense organs, that's when we developed a more mastery of that. And we're coming to the age of what Rudolf Steiner described as like the new etheric clairvoyance. I might have butchered that, but basically, at this stage, we still have those cognitive gifts and our
Hmm.
mental capacity, but now people's um, clair senses are coming back online. So
Hmm.
it's very, very powerful time to be here.
So funny you're saying that because when I was in the shower, I was thinking about birds. And because I saw the other day that they have a certain protein in their eye that allows them to see the electromagnetic fields. We used to think that they navigated through a crystal in their beak. And then I thought about crystals in our bodies. And then I thought about pineal glands. And then I thought about Greek gods and 12 god pantheons and how we have descended from, and then I'm like, where we didn't really like devolve as much as we were like infiltrated. Like it was almost
Right.
like we still have the direct connection to the highest level of our capabilities, but we have allowed ourselves in the stew of the lowering planes and the relationship between parasites and demons essentially, and like you said, entities that hijack you to take you for a ride. Same with the parasites, same with I think they're all like essentially connected, like
I
they're,
think so too.
yeah,
I think
yeah,
that physical parasites are a crystallization of
yep,
parasitic forces, and
yes.
they react synergistically.
I agree. I agree. It's wild. I saw something also recently, and I can't remember her name, but she's a scientist and she was describing how the government tried to recruit her for like their new world order agenda because, her knowledge, and it was related to COVID, and she was going through the vaccines, and apparently it's illegal to look at them under a microscope, or illegal to do who knows, who
That's
cares,
not
whatever.
sus at all.
Yeah, right. But she
Those-
did it anyway, right? So she
Yeah, yeah.
says, I looked under this microscope and I put all of the different brands of the vaccines, and she found that within like hours there was a parasite looking thing that stood up on its own and had tentacles and was like reaching out, and when you cut it up it makes a whole new one.
Yeah, like a Hydra kind of
Yes.
mythology. Yeah. And
Yes, but
self-assembling nanobots. Yeah.
uh-huh, and
Fun
that's what she
stuff.
saw in it too. Yep, all that stuff. So I was like, oh my gosh, like the only way to fight it basically is the Cymatherapy, because uh and frequency healing, energy healing, because the medical society is not going to help us. They don't even tell us to do parasite cleanses like the rest of the world does
Right.
regularly. Like
Right.
we just like straight up didn't know. Well, I think that's it's not just an accident. It's funny. It's funny when you see all the things that connect, but uh it's interesting to me also. I have heard for a while, what is his name?
McKenna?
Terrence McKenna, the actor. He
Oh,
ha-
Terrence Howard is the thing you're.
Terrence Howard.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah, yeah.
Terrence Howard. Yes. He is quite interested in the spectrum of frequency, sound, color, shape,
Hmm.
and how it
Yeah,
all correlates. And I've heard him talking about it. I think he describes things very well. But
yeah.
it is along the same lines of the conversation we're having here. Um, I believe sooner than we think, because it's coming to the point. Because I'm just a normal person. I'm not well educated in any one field. I'm not a specialist in any way, and many people aren't, but even normal people are able to see how all the things are connecting. And I think it's a wonderful thing that we have people like you who have picked up on this technology and medicine essentially, and not picked up on it like it's new, but like just didn't let it go, and allowed it into your field. Can I ask, how did this come into your realm of awareness?
That's a fun story. So back in 2018, that summer, at that point, I was a civil engineer designing overhead distribution and transmission power lines. Like transmission lines are like the massive towers you see with the big wires, and talk about hearing the electricity when you
Mm,
stand underneath them, which I wouldn't recommend doing, but like you can hear the buzzing.
mm-hmm.
Um, and then distribution, it steps down to a lower voltage that eventually serves your home with what we call secondary. That's, I hope I'm not boring your audience.
No, 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 not at all.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, well, it bored me. I did it for 8 years, and I loved the company I work with, and that's why I stuck it out so long, just because they're amazing people. But the work itself, I had the Sunday scaries every night,
Yeah.
and I was also dealing with treatment-resistant depression. And at that point, it was either take the trip to Peru or take my own life. So thankfully, chose trip to Peru, and I went there and did the round of healing that I'd come for. And in in Quechua, which is the ancient Peruvian language, there's a term called Aini, which is basically translates to reciprocity. For everything that you receive, you should give something in return. And my dear friend and late shaman, rest in peace, Don Howard, um, he brought that up to us, and he suggested asking the medicine, like, what's my path of servitude? And she just told me sacred geometry and multiples of nine. So there was a week that we did ayahuasca, and then some downtime that weekend before the next week where we sat with Wachuma, which is like kind of like the masculine,
Grandfather.
yeah, grandfather Wachuma. It was much more like external experience. And but during that down weekend, I started searching for books on sacred geometry, and a book on biogeometry came up, which we've talked about, and I read the just like the description of it, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is what I've been searching for. Because at that point, I was keenly aware of the unhealthy effects of Wi-Fi radiation and EMFs, and I was like, this is it. This is a solution. And
Yeah.
6 months later, I was taking that training for biogeometry, and then that's where I learned about the AMI device, and I've been fully ingrained in that world ever since.
That's absolutely amazing. And as you were saying that, it was also coming through. Do you think perhaps working under those transformers and power lines and with that type of frequency was contributing to how you were feeling?
I'm sure it was, especially because we had like a back lot at my office, and then there was a big transmission line running right next to it. So yeah, it
Yeah.
most certainly was contributing to that, the way I was feeling.
So you were able
You can
to,
imagine how that was received in my office, but
I'm gonna take you all down. No, but that's, I think the best thing, I love to hear that you shifted. Um, were able to
yeah,
understand something that you understood within a framework of, this is what I do for a 9 to 5, this is what I do because the world needs electricity, and this is what I do for my company. I like the people that I work for, but I'm not very satisfied in what I'm doing. I know there's more, I have to find another way. You listened to the call, thank God, and went on
yeah,
your journey. You got your answer and you took up in your mission. That's like all you could ask for. um Similarly, I worked in commercial landscaping for years and now I don't. And I would never again. And I think that they're silly geese. Like, why do we have grass? Why do we even have grass to cut? Like, that's the dumbest thing I've
yeah.
ever heard. And like, I cut grass for years, and it's just like, well, I hate grass. We should be growing clover. We should be growing food. We should be growing, it just doesn't make any sense. But
Dandelions, not
um,
spraying them.
dandelions, yep, we need them. And by the way, if dandelions are growing, it means that your soil is deficient in certain nutrients and it is trying
Right.
to help you. So
Yeah.
stop being rude. Don't spray them.
Yeah. And it speaks to the intelligence of Gaia,
Yeah,
It's like she always gives what's needed and like the intelligence of nature in general. Because it's
absolutely.
not just like mechanical processes. There's like, there's levels to that too, like spiritual levels. And you're
Hmm.
going back to birds, and there's been a lot of research. I wish I could quote it, but like the way that like the sounds of spring birds is kind of like the cue for spring to start blossoming and blooming, which
Oh
I think is
yeah.
amazing,
I can feel that in my body. Speaking of
right?
doing landscaping, one of my favorite things was being outside. That is why and I continue to do it, but it's holistic. I do it myself now. I don't use
Yeah.
equipment. I don't use chemicals. I do it like with my hands and hand tools. So, um, finding another way, but the waking up early enough where it's dark and then you hear the birds.
Oh, it's
You
the
can hear the
best.
birds before the sun rises and then the sun comes up. You can like feel it in your body. And it's funny too. I was thinking about, I woke up a little bit later this morning, maybe like 9 o'clock, but my dog had an appointment at 9:30.
Hmm.
So I had to get up, take her outside for a walk, but the sun was already up. And I don't get direct sun in my house until like later in the day. And so when I walked out, I'm like, oh my God, like I'm like blind. And then I was driving to the appointment. I had to put sunglasses on. And I was like, this is like really extreme. But then I realized that the sun is not extreme today. I did not tune myself correctly for the light, and my body is not ready to receive that amount of light because it thinks it's nighttime. So, like, why would
Right.
I, you know, like, I shouldn't be putting some, well, I mean, I had to, I was driving and I felt like I was going to go blind. So, but, at any point possible, converging with nature, working with nature, and just allowing the flow is often what I have found personally, often the best answer.
Yeah,
And
I
the
agree.
fact that we think that we might know better or we can fight against nature is just the silliest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah,
But
every time we try, we get humbled. But I think
yes,
that the way, like you're saying, is to work with nature, not try and like conquer it.
yeah, absolutely. And for you to think that you could conquer it, that's just silly.
Yeah.
Not you, I mean
No,
us
no, no.
as humans. Uh, it's fun.
Little archonic programming for you.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Uh, Let me think about if there was anything else that was coming through for me. I feel like I need to start doing a new series or something called like shower thoughts because when I before I'm getting ready for recordings, I usually think in the shower like what are we going to talk about? And then I get information, but then I can't prove it. So it's like what if I'm like, before I get ready, I could take the mic in there with me and just like say what I was thinking in my head.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to think about what was coming through for that. What do you see in the future pipeline for this work and yourself?
So I think that my biggest role in this is the education piece.
Hmm.
I'm a voracious researcher, especially when I get on a topic that I love. Just so happens to be esoteric topics and the underlying themes that connect them all. And I mean, I don't see myself having a healing practice forever, to be honest. I'm super passionate about building and constructing. So even though I didn't enjoy my engineering job, I still really enjoy like the design component and making sure things are structurally sound.
Hmm.
But a big piece of biogeometry, it's so applicable in everything that we
Hmm.
do in our lives.
Hmm.
I would love to design products that are built to, there's a sequence of numbers that all resonate with this vibrational quality. So, like I said, the number seven creates that carrier wave, which is a component of it's a copyrighted term BG3 or the biogeometry three, or the three components of this 12 band spectrum that make up this quality.
Hmm.
Um, I won't go too deep in the weeds, but anyway, like there's so like the number 16, the number 19, the number 28, when you apply that in a design element, what you create emanates that energy. So I've made little plant starters that really accelerate plant growth and make healthier plants. They were in one experiment. If people want to check it out, go to biogeometry.com and under research. They've done a lot of agricultural experiments and they were able to grow a sweet potato with water from the Dead Sea. So
Oh.
highly high salt content. And so they had the water in a storage container that was designed to these shapes and proportions. It was fed through a channel, same thing. And eventually it watered the sweet potato and it outperformed the control. And obviously when they watered the sweet potato with the Dead Sea water without any, any of the corrections, it just shriveled up and died. But
Of
that speaks
course.
to the power of the vibrations behind even things that are, toxic or whatever.
Yeah.
So my dream is to start building heart-centered communities that are plugged into the ley lines of the land, just like the ancients used to do.
Yeah.
Built to the buildings are all built to these shapes and dimensions, proportions, so that just by virtue of being there, you are reconnecting to source and your body's healing itself at the same time.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
I'm
that's where I
getting
see it going.
interested in natural building. So maybe someday when you're further in your path of that and I'm further in my path of natural building, we could build like some kind of cool thing. That would be
Heck yeah, let's
awesome.
do it. Yeah.
That would be so
Come to I'm
cool.
gonna down the road, I'm definitely going to be hosting sacred building workshops and using hempcrete. Have you ever heard of hempcrete?
Yes.
Yeah, so I've been on a number of projects when I lived in Colorado. I helped with some projects and I loved it. So I think that'll be the main building medium. And I also think cob is very powerful too. And it's much more
Yes.
accessible. You don't have to ship the herd from Europe or
Yep.
Asia. where they're
That's what I
standing through.
plan to learn in is Cobb. At some point, I was planning to go to Puerto Rico for a workshop for 5 weeks in January through February, but I was not able to go because I wanted to take my daughter, and
Mm,
I'm not her only parent, and
right,
I
right.
was
Yeah.
determined that I could not. So then I had to cancel my trip, and the group was kind enough to say, next time we have a workshop, you can come. So it's pretty much paid up. I guess I have to, which is great. That's what I like to do
Yeah,
that. Like when I want to commit to something, I'm like, I'm gonna pay like right now,
for sure.
just so
Yeah.
it's done. But yeah, so that'll be, I think they're gonna be in Oregon at sometime this year at
Really, what
some
part of
retreat.
Oregon?
I feel like around Eugene, but I may be wrong.
Okay. Um, I'm probably going to be spending a lot of time in Oregon as well. I have a friend there that right now they have an organic farm in South
Same,
Oregon. Yeah.
same.
And
Yeah, at
yeah, they're
Medford,
talking about like developing it into
Grants
one of the
Pass.
type of communities
Yeah,
that we were talking about. So,
that's so
yeah,
cool.
we'll
Yeah,
definitely have to
maybe.
stay in touch.
Yeah, that would be so cool. Because I feel like for my future, and I think that's funny too. Earlier today, I was picking up groceries driving, and I thought about what do you do? That question, what do you do? And it's interesting how sometimes, I think most of the time, people try to, they think that they understand all about you after you've described what you do. And it's like, no, that's just like a little, a little tiny piece of
Yeah.
the whole picture. So,
I have such a broad range of interests, and I used to
mhm.
drive my parents crazy because, like, like I want a telescope this week, and like this week I want to do this, which is, frustrating when you're spending all this money on your kid. But that's just who I am.
Yeah.
I'm not one dimensional, and I didn't
Yeah,
come here
you,
to do just one thing. Like I'm passionate about biodynamic farming too. I want to implement that into it all and just revitalize the air, soil, water, and
yes,
the energy of this planet. And what
absolutely.
we do to the earth, we do to ourselves, whether it's helping the planet or destroying it. So I think
Hmm.
we've got a lot of work to do, but what better time than now?
Yes. Thank you so much. That's such a great point. Thank you so much for your time today, Randy.
Thanks for having me.
Um,
This was fun.
I've really enjoyed talking with you. I feel like you answered a lot. Like I had some questions ready, but then you blew it out of the water just talking. I was like, as you're describing things, I'm looking at my list of questions. I'm like, well, he answered that. He answered that. And then I'm just like, oh, yeah, screw these questions. I don't even know. But I'll have to think a little bit harder now that I know more. I'll think a little bit harder, and I would love to have you on another time very soon.
Anytime. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you. And could you please tell us where can we find you?
So the best place to learn more about Cymatherapy and the other services I offer, I do Akashic Records readings as well.
Wow, I didn't
And
know that. That's
yeah, I
awesome.
really I don't talk about it as much as I should, but
Yes.
those have been really
We'll
fun
talk
and
about it next
rewarding.
time.
Yeah, there we go. And I do um, what I call custom vibrational healing. It's a blend of, energetic biohealing using the colors of the spectrum, but also connecting with, the client's higher self and tuning into the body and figuring out what they need, which I do a chakra clearing and activation, a nervous system clearing and activation. Then we dive deeper into their Akashic records to figure out what else we can do. And then I cap
Wow.
it off with a remote Cymatherapy session to kind of lock in what we've done.
Wow, that sounds extraordinarily comprehensive. I'll have to book a session with you. Thank you so much
Yeah.
for describing that. So then tell us where we can find you though, like your website or Instagram or
Yeah, I'm most active on Instagram, and my Instagram is the number four ethers, ETHERS, VM for vibrational medicine. Someone has the other one, just four ethers, and they don't even use it. Kind of someday I'll buy that from them,
yeah,
or maybe they'll
yeah,
gift it to me.
yeah.
But yeah, check me out there. That's where I'm most active and endeavoring to be even more active. But yeah,
Wonderful.
check me out. And then on there, my link tree is where you can quickly access the full suite of services. So just linktree linktr.ee/4 ethers, the number four again. That's the name of my business. And then on there, you can try out a session just like Christine did. Just I keep wanting to call you Christina, so I apologize. I accidentally
That's
do that.
okay.
But
Yeah, sometimes people call me Christina. Like I said, I used to work in landscaping and I had a big crew of Hispanic guys and I would tell them that my name was Christine and they're like, "No, Christina." I'm like, "No, but like that's not my name." And they're like,
yeah,
"Christina." So it's okay. I don't care.
Southern brethren.
Yes. Uh, thank you so much again, Randy. And I look forward to talking with you again about all the other things you do. Thank you for
Yeah,
informing me.
we just scratched the surface.
Yes. Thank
All
you
right,
so much.
take
Take
care.
care.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of In My Experience. I'm so glad that I had Randy as a guest. I love this conversation because it touched on so many layers of what I've been feeling and exploring in my own life. The body as energy, the importance of our nervous system, the wisdom of ancient healing systems, and the intelligence of nature. The way that sound, geometry, and frequency may be speaking a language our bodies already understand. If this conversation sparked something in you, I encourage you to connect with Randy on Instagram at 4EthersVM. You can also find his link tree where he shares more about Cymatherapy, Akashic Records readings, custom vibrational healing, chakra and nervous system clearing with his remote sessions that he offers. All of his links will be in the show notes. As always, take what resonates, stay curious, and trust your own experience. Sometimes the things that we understand most deeply are not the things that we can explain right away. Sometimes the body knows first, before the mind. Thank you for being here. I'll see you in the next episode. Enjoy this track by Stilo Free, Lights and Shadows.
Cause pressure made diamonds. Lay back, smoking loud in the silence. It's all love, but no trust. Why you think I'm doing too much? Cause pressure made diamonds. Lay back, smoking loud in the silence. I roll up and go up. Why you tripping? Give me no love. Nowadays you don't gotta mind me. In the end I hope you really find peace. I had to set my mind free. I had to let my soul breathe. Moon sign Pisces, heart broke psyche. Angels all around me, but demons wanna fight me. Feel like I had to fight myself. No, I had to look inside myself. With a predisposition to addiction. Through the negatives, I'm still focused on the vision. It's sorta like that first scene you see in Pulp Fiction. I see the end, but it's really only the beginning. I had to find a way to be grateful for them locked doors that you made close. When doves cry, it's so painful, but the purple rain is so graceful. Cause pressure made diamonds. Lay back, smoking loud in the silence. It's all love, but no trust. Why you think I'm doing too much? Cause pressure made diamonds. Lay back, smoking loud in the silence. I roll up and go up. Why you tripping? Give me no love. I'm fighting battles, lost between the lights and the shadows. Trying to shoot me down, I'm dodging all the ammo. Left me hanging, I escaped from the gallows. Swim through the ether, blowing on a reefer. Running like Rev when he rapped about Adidas. It's like my flow is heaven sent. My energy can shift the cards in your tarot deck. Life ain't always what it seems. An alternate reality, I'm living in a dream. I got the Stussy on the T with the 501 jeans. Ray-Ban Lokes with the Air Max 3s. Mandela effect, got me living my best. I gotta jump timelines when I'm living in stress. And a spliff in my chest, it got me lifting and blessed. Peace, you know the rest. Smoking loud in the silence. It's all love, but no trust. Why you think I'm doing trip and get